four background singers on one side of the stage and four background singers on the other side. I mean, it was like unreal, like her visual just to see it, just to see all that on one stage, and this woman belting out, like she sounded just like she does on the records.
So today we're talking with Andre Collins, part 3 of the BounceFM interview. I love it. So much information and knowledge and science. We got to come back thrice. So let's get into it. Let's talk about making a living as a DJ. Before and after. Before, meaning before you became famous and traveled the world. When you were on the come up, how did you pay your bills? How were you when you were, when you were starting as a DJ? How did you pay your rent? What were you doing? Were you working at Safeway? Were you working at Goodwill? Were you working at ShopRite? How did you pay your bills?
I was working for the Federal Reserve Bank of New York first on Maiden Lane. Yeah, I worked as a telex operator, and I went from there to Arthur Anderson, the accounting firm, and I worked there as a file assistant. And then I got a job with American Express, and I was working as a customer service representative for the traveler's checks division. That's when they had traveler's checks. They don't have them anymore. But yeah, that's how I paid my rent. The DJing wasn't enough money to sustain my rent and my way of living. And so it was more of a part-time gig, and it was something that I loved doing. So yeah, so that's how I did it. That's how the finances came.
Wow. So we learned something new today. DJ Andre Collins worked at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. I bet nobody knew that.
No. Well, my close friends knew, but not anybody like outside of my circle of friends.
Wow. And Federal Reserve Bank and American Express, and the other place was what?
Arthur Anderson.
Arthur Anderson. Wow.
The big accounting firm. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty impressive. And then at what point did you realize that the income was enough to sustain you once you quote unquote made it? At what point did you quit your job and said, I'm good now, I could do this full time? What was that moment?
No, well, exactly. Things didn't happen that way. So this is what happened. So I was working, and along the way of me getting a level of success and stuff, I also was doing drugs. And then I got sick. I got diagnosed HIV positive. Actually, I was diagnosed with AIDS. And at that point, I stopped working, and I was battling drug addiction. And also I got sick with cancer, and I went through chemotherapy and radiation while I still was getting high, smoking crack. At this point, I've done everything from Black Beauties and acid and Quaaludes and Darvons and opium, hash, and you name it, I did it. If you want to know if a drug was good or not, you throw it to Mikey, and I was Mikey, So I have a long history of that. But when crack came along, it took away a lot of my options. It took me away from the music. And then I'm going through cancer treatment, and I'm just assuming, this is around the time when people were dying in the gay community on a regular basis. We used to go to the garage, and every weekend we would hear about somebody who passed away. So I figured, well, I'm going to pass away too. So I didn't really have any thought of what the future was going to be. I just assumed, well, Larry and and everybody from the garage and my friends, they're going to die. Now I have this thing, and I'm going to die too. And I got through chemotherapy and radiation, and I tell people I got through it by smoking crack because I really didn't identify with the sickness. I just assumed that it was just going to be a matter of time. And I got through it, and they gave me, which I found out later, that they gave me the most potent chemotherapy and radiation due to the type of cancer I had. And they said, my oncologist said to me one day, like 3 months after the treatment, he would look at the paper and then look up at me, and then look back at the paper and look at me. And I was like, what's wrong with you? And he said, well, based on this information, you really should be dead. Like, we have not seen anybody survive from what we put in your body to live to tell that they went through it. And so I smoked more crack because I thought, well, you would think, I would try to pull it together, but oh no, not me. Like, I just went out and smoked some more. And in this time period, I just withdrew from the club scene. I withdrew from everybody. And then I went into recovery, and I went away and I got better. And then the first place I went back to was a Sound Factory bar to hear Frankie, because I loved Frankie's playing, and I loved that crowd there. And I'll never forget, me and my friend, who was also in recovery, his name is Renee, we ran around the club because every corner of the Sound Factory bar, somebody was smoking weed or they were smoking the woola, there was something going on. So we were trying to run away from the smoke, all around the club. And eventually after that, I started working, doing gigs for Narcotics Anonymous, because they have a gay and lesbian sector there. And then from that point, I started feeling more confident and more sure of myself. And then I started playing all over again. So I dropped out for a while.
Got it. What is the Andre Collins sound?
What is my sound? I try to approach the music like I'm telling a story, that's to me. And then I like to start on a kind of down tempo, low, and then build up to kind of frenzy, So I try to create an atmosphere that is exciting, but at the same time, you hear something being said, and I try to relate a message through my music. I don't want people, like, every once in a while, a song maybe spiritual or maybe very techy. It all depends on the time, who I'm playing for, and the vibe that I'm feeling from the crowd, because I play off of energy from people. Like, I need people to let me know that I'm going in the right direction, and it's good. What I'm doing is good for them, and it's good for me. And then they give to me, and I give back to them.
I love that. Is house music for everyone?
I like to think so, because to me, the house music name, it's a name, a genre that they've given a name to a sound of music, right? But I solely believe, all of this stems from the dance music, which dance music was so general. It covered Donna Summers, as well as the Tramps and Diana Ross, and so on and so forth. So that was the onset. So any of that music It's music that you could relate to. It's music that has an emotional attachment to it. And it either makes you dance, makes you cry, makes you happy, make you jump up and down. But it's always going to be around. Like this, that music will always, to me, it stands the test of time. So yes, I say yes, house music, is going to stay alive, but fortunately, we have to support it, and house music is not as supported as R&B and hip hop is. It's just not, and we don't buy it like that. We don't go to the shows like that. Well, some of the artists don't even have a show. They only have tracks, I mean, but there was a time when they had orchestras like Tent City, and they had bands like, Diana Ross is not going to come with no track, Chaka Khan is not going to come up with no tracks. They come with the live band. So I think it's really important that the artists that we have now, they're pretty prominent. They need to have a live band. They need to construct a show and go on tour with live instruments. Don't settle for the electronics. Don't settle for less. Like, bring it like, it should be. Louis does it, there's got to be some way that they can pull together to go out on tour and have a live band. There's just got to be. There's got to be a way for it to be done. And that way, that you're not seen as just a track artist. You're seen as a real art. To me, the track artist is, I'm not saying that they're not real, but there's nothing like seeing a live performance with a full band. And, with Tent City, they came with an orchestra. They performed in Radio City. I mean, to me, there's nothing that compares to that. I saw Nita Baker, Patti LaBelle, Chaka Khan, and Gladys Knight all in one show at Radio City. All of them had their own band, and Gladys Knight, out of all of them, turned all of them out because she had a full band and an orchestra and four background singers on one side of the stage and four background singers on the other side. I mean, it was like unreal, like her visual just to see it, just to see all that on one stage, and this woman belting out, like she sounded just like she does on the records. Yeah.
Wow.
So I think that will help instill in people the meaning of the house music, and they would have a different appreciation for it.
In our first interview last year, you talked about Frankie Knuckles and the Paradise Garage and how he commercialized something sacred, and that in some way it kind of ruined the experience. Can you expound on that?
Okay, so I really was talking about the night that the garage closed, because I was playing at Midtown 43 at that time. And I got so indignant and so angry at Frankie Crocker advertising the closing of the garage the night of that it was closing. And I was like, well, wait a minute. Like, you're gonna have all these strange people, like tourists, coming into our place. Because to me, the garage was our place. And I mean that in sense of the gay community didn't have to worry about, coming out the club and somebody beating you because, or jumping you. Like, you didn't have to worry about any of those things. That we were in a sacred place. It was our place. And here you go advertising our place closing, and we're going to have all these people that don't have any awareness of what they're to what they're doing here and what this place is about. And to me, it just diminished the sacred and loving place that it was, because now you're having spectators coming in. And that I couldn't even, I wouldn't even go to the close. I was so angry with it. And I thank God I had a couple of weeks before it closed, I had went and I had a great time. But I part of me regrets not going, but part of me feels that felt like I needed to stand up for what I believe. And that really hurt me, because I saw the garage develop. I was there when there was a hole in the ground, and we danced around, those caution signs that they put in the street. We danced around that, and there was a hole in the middle of the dance floor, and it was sawdust. And we came out all soaking wet from dancing because the ceiling started sweating. Larry was playing in the crystal room, and because there was no main dance floor at that point. And then, we saw it go from that to what it became. And I just felt like, don't let everybody, don't know. Not everybody's supposed to know. That's why it was called the underground. Like, underground was because somebody had to know somebody to get into the underground and to be part of the underground. But here we go with Frankie Crocker, and he's commercial. It's one thing for him to talk about certain songs that he heard at the garage, but it was another thing to me when he started telling people they should come. Like, you stepped over the line with that. And I seen him in the booth with Judy Weinstein hanging out with Larry and all that. I seen all that, but it's still, in order to get into the garage, you had to know somebody, and you had to come with a member, and you were told that there was a certain strictness and behavior that was expected of you. And if you couldn't do that, if you couldn't be accepting of people, then you weren't allowed to come in. You weren't allowed to stay. You had to go. How about that? They don't, I don't want to, yeah, I'm going to say. So straight people don't have that problem when they went to Bentley's. They didn't have that problem when they would go to whatever other club they would go to. They didn't have it. They didn't. Oh, by the way, you got to behave, or you got to respect people when you come in here. Like, they don't have that stigma that comes with being a homosexual. They don't have it. So, so it was different for us. So we were happy to have a place that we could go. And somebody stood up for us, and somebody said, like, these people are important too. Like, don't get it twisted. This isn't yours. Like, you can come and hang out, but you gotta know how to behave. That's why I don't know. Like, you asked me the other interview about if the garage would be for today. I don't know. I think that the climate, and I think that the people are different, and I don't know if it would survive, or if it would be what it was, because the people who made it, they had a vision then, and the vision was for that moment. Unfortunately, we thought it was going to last forever. We didn't think that that it was going to close, but I think it was the proper time, the proper people, and I don't know if it could happen here. It would be nice, but I don't know. I got big questions. And for me, I couldn't hang out like I used to. I'm 63 years old. I can't be doing 2 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock in the morning, dancing. By 5 o'clock, I gotta go. I'm done. So that's what I think.
What did the Paradise Garage mean to you?
Okay, well, because it was sacred to me, and because I was there from the onset and saw the development of it, it was almost as if you could see your money going to proper, you like they weren't just taking your money to be taking your money for admission. They were taking the money and they were developing, a club, and the club was our club, and so to me, the garage stood for creativity. It served as a community. They were a community. We were a community of people. We didn't know everybody, but you end up saying hello to almost half the crowd when you came up in there. Because we saw each other every week, and there was no there was no there's no pressure to be, and you were not told that you could be yourself. Like you could come and you could just express yourself through your music. I mean, through dancing and through your fashion, and it didn't matter. Everything went. And there was no limitations, and we were always surprised. It was always something that would happen that night that was different from the week before, 2 weeks before. Each time you went, it was like having a new experience. The music would be different. Karen Young would pop out from somewhere singing Hot Shot, or we'd have First Choice or Grace Jones. I mean, we saw Diana Ross, Patti LaBelle with the band. There was always something, or the lighting, the laser light night that when they first installed the laser light. Oh my God! Like, so there was and bubbles coming out the ceiling. From You Can't Play Around by Lace. Yeah, so there's always something that was special and that was given to us for being there.
Is house music dead, or does it smell funny?
Or does it what?
Does it smell funny?
Or does it smell funny? I think it's watered down. I mean, I don't get me wrong, there's a couple of songs, there are a couple of producers that are really good, but overall, it's not. Those songs from like It Should Have Been You and Love Money and Nobody's Got Time and I Can't Stop by Jeannie Brown. Like they don't make music like that anymore. Louis is really good producer. Big Lavender is a good producer, and Spin and the Basement Boys, which some of them, they come together and then they work separately. But there's some producers are really still doing new things. Josh Milan, they're putting out their own sound and adding to the repertoire of music that has some sense of longevity. But it's just not, overall, it's just not the same to me. It's not. It's kind of boring, some of it, you know.
Where and how does Andre Collins get inspired musically these days?
Well, I have a couple of friends who really hit the internet really hard, and occasionally I do it, but they send me some songs that they think that I might be interested in playing, and I try to like, I went to hear Dan the other week, and he played an edit that he did from a song called Back to Love. And I just texted him and asked him, could I get a copy of it? Because I tried finding it and I couldn't find it, you know. But there's not a great deal of things that really make me feel excited. Like, some of it's really good, you know. Osulade played a whole lot of stuff that I wasn't familiar with, and I Shazam like 5 or 6 different songs that he played, and they had a different sound to them. So, you know, I'll research stuff, and then if I hear something when I'm out, I'll ask the DJ what it is or Shazam it. You know, I mean, let's live in a whole different world. You know, we used to have to go to the booth and ask the DJ what's playing. Now you just put your phone up and hit Shazam, and if it's a song that Shazam can read, because it don't always read things. But if it's a song that it could read, it tells you the name of the song, you know. So I do my own research on a computer because everything's a file now. I mean, I'm seeing some stuff about record stores here and there, you know, selling vinyl. But I can't remember the last time I bought a vinyl record. I can't even recall, you know. I'm sitting around in my house with close to 5,000 records that are just occupying space, to be honest with you. And so I started selling some of my collection. I put a hold on it right now, but you know, due to the pandemic. But you know, I'm in the market of selling some of my stuff. And it's wonderful that I have it, and I look at my collection. I'm so proud of what I've accomplished in doing so. But also financially, you know, I struggle, you know, every now and then, and I could use the money. You know, this is, you know, the records are money. You know, there's a lot of money in my collection, and there's some things I'm not letting. I don't care what's happening. If even I start smoking crack again, I'm not selling certain records of mine just so I could take a hit. You know, that's not going to happen. You know, so there's some things that are sacred to me that are not going to ever leave my home. But yeah, so that's how the music thing is very different nowadays. Everything's a file. Everything's a flash drive, or it's a Serato, it's a something. But it's not like, to me, there's nothing like getting a record and then reading the producer, the background singers, and if there's really a real instrument in it, the trumpet player or the keyboard player. But you don't get that opportunity to do that anymore. You get a file, you get the name of the song. Like there's a song that Timmy did called Surrender, but if I would have to look up on my computer, on my controller, to tell you who did it, because I can't barely remember the name of the artist, you know, who do some of these songs, unless it's an artist I'm familiar with, you know. But so there's you don't have the same, to me, it's not having, you don't have the same attachment. It's just something about something being physical as opposed to being a file. Yeah, you lose that sense of connection. You know, you could look at a record, you know, what do you do with the file? You put the file on your flash drive and you play the song. I mean, or you key it in on your computer and you play the song. Yeah. The technology is good. Don't get me wrong. It's good. It's wonderful that we can go and play with a little thing that we stick in a little box and play. But there's something about the vinyl experience that you can't match it with the file. You just can't.
How come nobody uses the term soulful house outside of New York City?
I didn't know that nobody else used it outside New York City.
They do, but it's really very minimally. In New York, it's, you know, we understand soulful house, but outside of New York, it's rarely used.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder why that is. Oh.
Maybe there's just so few soulful house clubs. Well, there probably aren't any anymore right now.
Well, but they have it in Philly. They have it in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like they don't have it in other urban cities. you know?
Oh, they have the sound. I don't know if they actually call it that though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, we're good for giving names. So, New York City is good for that, And then there are some parties that they only play soulful house music. You got some parties that are only playing African sounding music, and I don't mean any offense to anyone who's African. I'm just saying that we have parties now based on the sound of music, and it didn't used to be like that. You would go out and you would hear a little bit of everything. You even hear a rock group. You would back in the '70s, Nikki used to play the original Black Betty, which was a rock version. It wasn't the house version or the remix version that they put out. So you heard everything, and so there weren't parties just specifically for a certain sound of the house music. And now there are. Now there are. They just pop up here and there, and I see it on Facebook, and it's why are you limiting yourself? Why are you gonna stay in a box? Why do that to yourself? Because you're not experiencing music in all forms. Like to me, music is about keeping an open mind. Even a techie song could be good with your set. If it's the right one. Groove chord. I mean, there's I don't know why that is. I don't know why, because we don't have to do this. You can just, you go out and to hear the house, good music. That's what you want to hear. So I think it would be good for me to say a little something about the thing that I had
Yes.
sent to you,
Yes.
because I want to make sure I include certain people, right? But I did start off with the Jehovah's Witness stuff, and I think we covered that pretty good. But I want to add in there that I would go door to door, and I would sometimes go to the door with the guys that I hung out with the night before, and I'd be drinking on the bench with a 40, and here I am in my shirt and tie, ringing the doorbell, and I had one of my neighbors. I live in the projects. I live in the Gun Hill Projects in the Bronx. So I went to one of my neighbors' house, and one of my friends answered the door. He said, "What the hell are you doing?" Like, because the witnesses come to your door Saturday afternoon when the cartoon's on and stuff. And so he was in his pajamas, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm doing, the Jehovah's Witness thing, with the Watchtower near Wake." And he was like, "But you were just getting high with us last night on the bench." I said, "Yeah, I know, but this is what I got to do, But I started realizing I was being more hypocritical than anything, And so I told my mother at a young age I wasn't going to do it anymore, and I wasn't going to get baptized, and that changed the dynamics in my house, because I was 15 years old. Like, who do you think you are? You're going to do what I tell you to do. I said, "Ma, I can't. I'm a hypocrite. I'm telling people to live one way, or I'm suggesting to them to live a certain way, and I'm not doing it." And so there was a problem with that for a while, but I ended up leaving at some point. But
When did
yeah,
you move out of the
and
house? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. No, keep going. Keep going.
I was going to say, Jehovah's Witnesses teaches that homosexuality is just as bad as being a thief and a murderer, and so you're abolished. Like you are out. You're an outcast. So I couldn't connect with. I couldn't be around an organization that told me, that I was worthless. But I struggled with that for many years because I was instilled with this information from a child. Like I was brought up to believe that. And so even in my older years, I've had, I battled with, acceptance, with inner acceptance, not from the outside world, because I know the outside world was going to have their own opinions on me, regardless of, they don't even have to talk to me. They automatically just assume, well, he's gay, he must be this and he must be that, So I think I want to move from that now. And I want to say that I've been fortunate enough to work with these really great DJs, and now some of them are producers, and they've been my inspiration, and I've been so grateful to have been in their company and to share evenings with them. And I'll start with Louis Vega. When I was at the warehouse, I asked Mike Stone and Charles Jackson, and so Louis Vega, I went to Mike Stone. I said, I want Louis to play at the warehouse, and so Louis played at the warehouse, and it was just really a great night. And so I was really honored to work with him. And David DePino, Danny Krivitz, Timmy Regisford, Antonio Ocasio, Donna Edwards, Fred Pierce, David Morales, Tony Humphreys, Donald Stone. Donald Stone passed away, but he played with me at a club called Sweat on 43rd Street in a Hotel Diplomat on the second or fifth floor. And DJ Disciple, Tyrone Francis, DJ Cedric, Vince K. Vince K is, he played at the warehouse with me, and we did a couple of places in the Bronx. But he's also in the midst of doing some production work with Tony. And it's really great stuff. So look forward to hearing from him. Ken Terry, David Cole, Teddy Douglas, Frankie Knuckles, Missy B, Kim Lightfoot, Kenny Carpenter, Kevin Hedge from Blaze. I played with Kevin Hedge at what's that club? Cielos. Yeah, for my birthday actually. And Rio Watanabe, who is my Japan promoter. When I play over in Japan, he's the gentleman who sets me up and gives me my tour dates and all that good stuff. E-Man, I used to play with in Brooklyn. I forgot the name of that club, but I used to play with him in Brooklyn. DJ Pucci, Carlos Sanchez, who has passed away. And Carlos was really, he was a great producer of house music, and he's a writer, and he was a musician. He was a musician, and T. Scott and Nicky Ciano. So T. Scott, I got close to in Better Days, and lo and behold, I got when T left Better Days, I got an opportunity to play there for 3 years. And Nicky Ciano, who's my first DJ that I really I was taken aback by what he was doing, and I was I got the opportunity to work with him and T. Scott before T. Scott passed away, and Nicky's still around, but I got an opportunity to play with him as well. So I just want to mention that I've been in good company. That's how I feel. Like I shared I shared my talent with other talents, and that's how you grow as an artist. You grow by experiencing, connecting with other artists who do the same thing that you do, but you all have a sense of a certain direction you want to go with the music, but you can be inspired by somebody else's music, So for those things, I'm really grateful.
Let's talk about being a professional DJ. How is it, how is being a DJ in 2021 different from being a DJ 25 years ago?
Hmm. All right. So 25 years ago, my goodness, can I remember that far back? We were carrying records, and I was just working at trying to build. Well, I need to say this. I never got into being a DJ for notoriety or for success. I went into it because I had a passion to play and do what I did. It just so happened that it transcended into those things. I think today the DJs want the success and don't want to do the work. Like they want to be a legend before it's time for them to be a legend. Like you have to earn the credibility in order to be told. Because it's not even that you woke up one day and said, "Oh, I'm a," you know, you could have woke up and said, "Oh, you're a legend," but you're a legend in your own mind. Like that's the only legend that you are is to you. You know, so like you want people to know you for who you are and work at something. And so you have to put in the work. And for me back then, the work was carrying crates of records and playing. Sometimes at my job, my day job, I would be so tired because I was playing at bad days on a Thursday as well as on the weekend. So on a Thursday night, I still had to get on the number 2 train and travel all the way up to the Bronx with the crates of records and then go to my day job, you know. But so you have to earn. To me, it's a footwork that you put in. It's the gigs you get. It's how how much do you want what it is that you have to offer to share with the universe. How you know, and so you have to put in the footwork, and nothing comes to you, to me, overnight. But these some of the new people, I won't say any names, so, but they, in their mind, they've already become like a star or they become legends. And it, I came from an era, you had to prove yourself. You had to, you had to show people, you know, you got to not just get down with your music. You got to have something to offer that's different from this one and that one, because that these they're all people, they all have their own sense, but you want to stand out with your own thing, you know. But some of them just sound like the next person that's coming on, you know. So that's my feeling. Um, it's so different from back then, from way back then. You know, it really is. Um, and then people get on the internet, and like I said to one of my friends, like everybody's a DJ in their head, you know, and then like, you know, I got a laptop, I got 2,000 songs, I'm a DJ, you know, and it's not that cut and dry. It's not that simplistic. It's doing your homework. It's like knowing where this music started from, what the original, and knowing and feeling that sound. And it's getting, it's too it's too messy. That I guess it's too it's to me it's almost as if you did 2 gigs and now, you know, you've arrived. It's really different. I didn't come from that era. I did not know. You had to bring it. You had to bring it on a regular. You know, due to the pandemic, you know, it's kind of made me fear, you know, big crowds, right? So I've done some of the outdoor events, And just recently, I did 2 indoor events. I did a 60th birthday party for a woman who bought a CD from me from Central Park, because I played for the Central Park Roller Skaters. And she bought it like a year or so ago, and she remembered me. And I went and did her 60th birthday. She lives in California, but she has family and friends here in Jersey. So I did a place in Jersey across the street from the Prudential Center. And that was the first indoor gig I did. And then I did something else. Where was that? Oh, I forgot where it was. But oh no, I went to Danny's party. And I'm going to be doing on New Year's Eve, I'm going to be playing at the Sugar Hill catering spot. It's Frankie Knuckles production. I mean, Frankie Paradise party for New Year's Eve. And we are honoring Charles Jackson for his work as a promoter and also becoming a cancer survivor from prostate cancer. So this is his first time being out in public, you know, in a indoor venue. So that's something real special that's coming up that I'm going to be doing. But the thing about what's going on now, it's just that not everybody in the house community or who comes out is vaccinated. You know, some people will tell you, and then some people won't. You may ask them, and there's, you know, they may say, "Yeah, I did," but they really didn't. You know, and so that is what is a little discomforting to me. I'm just trying to, you know, navigate it because the last thing I need is to have some complications on top of what I already have to live with, you know, on a day-to-day basis, you know. And Lord knows I don't want that kind of complications if I can prevent them. So we're just living in a different time where, you know, things have become so politicized, and then we become so I don't know what to call it. It's like anti-accepting. Like when we were kids, we got chickenpox shot and, you know, polio and all that. So what happened, you know? But, you know, we live in a different time. And so we have to be very careful, because I don't think anybody wants to suffer due to getting COVID because somebody else was choosing not to take care of themselves. So, you know, I'm grateful that I'm doing this gig, and I'm considering going to Danny's party on New Year's Day. But when I went there to see Osalate, it was really crowded. And I can only imagine it being crowded again, New Year's Day. So it's up in the air right now if I'm going to attend it. But I have to pick and choose what I do, and I have to be, I have to stay healthy. I have to stay as healthy as I can, as best as possible.
No, thank you. Thank you for the interview. Thank you for the time. Thank you for sharing your story.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Take care.
All
I
right. Bye.
appreciate it. Bye.